Good morning, friends. Let's begin with the lesson 1.2, that is odd one in. Most often you have heard this term called odd one out, which suggests that the one who does not share the same qualities is basically uh, considered to be an odd one. And then often it is that element or that component is placed out. But the lesson that we are going to study is odd one in. So the title suggests that there is someone or there is something which is odd, but then at the end, that odd is the part of the group. So let's find out who that odd person is, and let me just read the first page, and then we'll start discussing. How was the first day of school? Asked mother as Rima sat down for dinner. Okay, Rima shrugged. No lessons, no, just settling in. Any new girls in your class? Inquired her father, Mr. Singh. Only one, Malti, and she's funny, grimaced Rima as she helped herself to the salad. Why do you say that? Asked Mr. Singh. She can't speak much English. She has come from other state, sniffed Rima, naming one at the other end of the country. Oh, children from that state are supposed to be clever. They are they are especially good at maths, said Mr. Singh quietly. Well, this one does not seem smart at all. Oily hair, windy and all. Good morning, teacher, mimicked Rima. Our parents exchanged glances. Rima was their only child. They doted on her, but she could be insufferable at times. I do hope, I do hope you and your friends will not make things too difficult for Malti, sighed Mr. Sen as he rose from the table. Rima and her gang had decided to do just that. Next morning, the minute Malti entered the class, they all chorused, Good morning, poor Malti. She did not realize that they were making fun of her. She beamed back at them and replied, Good morning. Now, after finishing the first page, let's first discuss the characters which are on this page. There is this character called Rima, and her father is Mr. Sen, and her mother is Mrs. Sen. They are having their dinner, they are at the dinner table, and they are discussing about a newly arrived girl who is Malti. Let's understand the text line by line. How's the first day of school? Asked mother as Rima sat down for dinner. So when Rima sat down for dinner, her mother asked as how her first day of school was. So this sentence makes it clear that it is the first day of the school, and on the first day or when the school reopens, some students leave the school, some students arrive at the school. I mean, they take admission in the school. So that's what happens. That's what we see on the first day of school, and then the Rima replies, "Okay, no lessons, just settling in." She says that nobody taught us anything, and we basically spent the day just by settling in. We just settled, we just talked, that's all. But then she says this sentence while shrugging. So I feel that you all should know the meaning of the word shrugging. So let's see. I already know the meaning, but I have put it down for you. So shrugging is basically to raise your shoulders and then drop them to show that you do know or care about something. So that's what shrugging is. So basically, it's raising the shoulders. And sometimes text is just not enough to make things understand. That's why I have a GIF for shrugging. Let's understand what shrugging is. So shrugging, and then here comes. Yeah. So this is shrugging. So she said that the day was okay. It was just settling in while shrugging her shoulder. Any new girls in your class? Inquired her father, Mr. Sen. Then Mr. Sen, who is Rima's father, inquired, asked her that if there are any new girls in her school, in her class. And then Rima said, only one, Malti, and she is funny. Now, here we come to know that the new girl who has arrived in the school is Malti. Rima said this, she grimaced. So let's understand the meaning of grimace. So it's basically to make an ugly expression with your face to show pain, dislike. So on the very first day itself, it becomes clear that Rima disapproves Malti, maybe for certain reasons, which we'll get to know later as we progress in the lesson. But now let's understand the text further. And then she said this, while she helped herself to the salad. And then Mr. Sen asked the next question, that is, why do you say that? Why do you say that she's funny? And then Rima has a reason, and the reason is she can't speak much English. She has come from another state. Snipped Rima, naming one at the other end of the country. So the reason that she found Malti to be funny is she cannot speak English. Of course, I mean you all know that this can never be a reason, or this should never be a reason. But then people sometimes they feel that if they are good at things, then they think that only they are good at things. People aren't. So she has a reason that she is funny because she can't speak much English, and she has come from another state. She snipped. So the snipping is basically is let's see its meaning. It's to breathe in air through your nose in a way that makes a sound, especially when you are breathing. So let's see how she said this. Let me just make this snipping noise. She can't speak much English. She has come from another state. Maybe she made the sound like this. And then Rima also named that she is from one state, but the name of the state isn't given here. But then this makes it clear that she does not belong to the state where Rima belongs. Now, oh, so when she named that state, her father was surprised, and then he said, "Oh." You can look at the exclamatory mark that shows the surprise. So he said, oh, children from that state are supposed to be clever. And then her father says that the children from the state are basically very clever, and they are especially good at maths. And then he continues saying that the children from the state are clever and they are good at maths. And Mr. Sen said this quietly. To this, Rima says, well, this one does not seem smart at all. Oily hair, bindi and all. Good morning, teacher, mimicked Rima. And then Rima says that could be, I mean, the students from this state could be smart, could be clever. But of course, this girl does not seem to be smart girl at all. She has oily hair, she puts bindi and all, and then she says, good morning, teacher. Maybe she has some village accent, that's why she says it. But then she says this, but then Rima finds it funny, and then she mimicked Rima. So mimicking is basically to say the exact things in an exact way. That's what mimic is. And then while when her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Sen, listened Rima mimicking Malti, they basically looked at each other. Her parents exchanged glances. That means they looked at each other. Rima was their only child, and they doted on her. So the meaning of dot is basically to love, to give a lot of love or attention. So they basically loved her a lot. They gave her a lot of attention. But she could be insufferable at times. But they knew that she could be very annoyable, very disturbing at times. And maybe this is that one moment where she was quite annoyed. She was quite annoying to her mother and father because they completely disapproved her attitude. They did not like the way she was looking at Malti. And then her father sighs. Sighs is basically, and then he said, I do hope you and your friends will not make things too difficult for Malti. I feel that you and your friends should not make things difficult for her. He sighed and he said this while he rose from the table, while maybe their dinner was finished. And looking at her attitude, maybe her father didn't want to continue the interaction, the talk, and that's why he got up from the table and then he basically asked her to not make things difficult for Malti, or not to trouble her. But unfortunately, Rima and her friend had actually decided to create troubles for Malti, to tease her, to trouble her. Next morning, the minute Malti entered the class, they all chorused. So the meaning of the chorus is basically to say things in to say things together, to sing together, to say things together. So they all chorus, just the way when we stand and say good morning to our teacher. That is basically we chorus. We say all together the same thing. So they chorused, good morning. They basically followed the same way. They said the things in the same way. Poor Malti. She did not realize that they were making fun of her. And Malti, she's look at her simplicity. She was being made fun of. The girls were making fun of her, but Malti just didn't realize that. Look at her simplicity, how simple she is. She beamed back. So she smiled happily at them, and then she said, "Good morning." And she again said the same good morning in the same tone that she says good morning.